Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to her channel. She is so sorry she's running a little bit late, and this is actually a different link or video than um, was originally set up because the for some reason, YouTube decided it was going to be persnickety and it did not want to recognize this girl's camera. So she had to completely start it over. Hello, Dark Fae. How are you? Glad you made it. And of course, we have to have today's coffee with the I Love Service mug. This girl is going to wait and see if anybody else well, not if anybody else shows up, but to give people time to show up. Um, this girl is doing good, thank you. It's been a good week. It's been a very good week. So she's glad to hear that you are doing well. So today's topic is going to be how Master and this girl got together. Now there are going to be a lot of disclaimers that this is not the way that things are done by 99.99% of people who are in even just an MS style of relationship, not even a Korean relationship. Um, if you hear squeaking in the background, that's the puppies. So sorry about that. They're a little hyper today. This girl doesn't know what they got into, but apparently the puppies have decided that today is the day to be hyper. So we'll just give people a few more minutes to show up and see what happens. Oh, this is Morgana. She's a good girl. Say hello. Hello. Yes, good girl. She is very adorable. Don't know if her sister is going to show up on the bed or not, but yeah, they've been having basically this girl got woken up at 5:30 this morning because one of the dogs fell off the bed. It's not a very long fall, but it was a very loud fall, and so she just wanted to make sure they were all okay. But that was quite the wake up this morning. It really was. Okay, let's see. Do. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, Dark Fae, it looks like, for at least for now, it's just going to be the two of us in this live stream, probably because there were technical difficulties. Thank you, YouTube. But that's okay. So, let's see. The way that Master and this girl got together was actually very, she would say, unconventional. Um, so story time, because that is the topic of today's video, is story time. So gather around and enjoy a story. If it, and you know, if you watch this later, feel free to leave comments down below. But so in the beginning, this girl was a free companion to a gentleman that she loves very, very much. And after several years of being a free companion, she realized that freedom just wasn't for her. It wasn't suiting her anymore. It wasn't fulfilling. So she begged his collar, and he granted it. And so she returned to being a kajira after about 5 years of freedom. Now, 2 years down the road, life happens. He has to move. This girl cannot go with him. So she decides that she's going to go with her parents to a different state and help them settle in. And that he and this girl were going to try a long distance MS relationship. See, dogs. But that he and this girl were going to try a long distance relationship. And after some time, we came to the agreement that he just couldn't be the right master for her, from so far away, because this girl is very physically needy, not in a sexual way, but in a, she needs touch, she needs the physical presence of someone to be fulfilled. She can't just be far away. Sorry, one of the dogs was whining. So the solution we came up with was we would present, what's the word this girl's looking for? She had the word a minute ago and her brain went blurb. We would present a proposition to several of our dominant friends and see which one was agreeable to the proposition, which was, would they be willing to take on this girl from her master? That way she wouldn't be released. She would not have to go back to being a free woman, because she made the decision once she took her collar that she did not want to be free ever again. And excuse this girl just a moment because the dog is going to whine until she's on the bed. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, and that's Zoe. So we asked a couple of people, and most of them were not in a position to take on this girl until we talked to this girl's current master. And she agreed to give this girl a consideration period of 6 months, which she did. And after that, it was decided that Master did want to take on this girl, and that we were a good fit together. And so during that consideration time, this girl was still the property of her former master, even though she was in service and serving and being considered by her current master. Now, once that 6 month period was over, her current master decided, yes, this is a good fit. We get together well, we mesh well, not only, among MS, but, we've known each other for almost 20 years. So we mesh well in the friend department, we mesh well in the MS department, we mesh well in the S&M department. All the important things are, all the important elements are there. So once that 6 month period was over, her former master and her current master got together on the phone, and he pretty much said, okay, you've agreed to take her on. I now transfer her ownership over to you. And once that was done, her current master basically gave her her first collar, which it's bright purple, it's metal, it's about that thick. It's got a big old O-ring on it, and it had a lock right here. Really pretty, really nice collar. The only problem was it gave her a heat rash on the back of her neck because Louisiana is hot and humid. And so about a year and a half down the line, we decided to go for the Turian style of collar and cuffs because easier maintenance and not as much issues with heat rash, which is a plus. Now, she knows that some of you, at least some of you later on who may watch this later, may be wondering how is this possible? Why would you do this? And it's because this girl does not want to be free. She has consensually made the agreements that she never wants to be out of a collar. And for big disclaimer, this is not how most people do their MS relationships. Disclaimer. But for her, she considers herself property. And that has everything that goes along with it, which means she can be given away. She can be sold. And for her, that's not a bad thing. That's a very good thing. But it also requires, being with someone who has your best interests and who is a beneficial owner. And so Master is in discussions with another friend of ours who we have also known for 20 plus years, that should something happen to Master, this girl's ownership will be basically willed over or transferred over to this person. And if for some reason they can't do it, then we have some other friends who are in the running for being her owners. So that is how Master and this girl got together. And because she promised you guys an overarching theme for the day. And for her, that would be what it's like to actually be property. And it's it's very interesting. Let's see. Hans, you asked, if you don't mind me asking, why did you make the choice of not wanting to be free? Very good question. Thank you very much. Um, and the reason this girl doesn't want to be free is because it just doesn't suit her. It doesn't make her fulfilled. It doesn't make her happy. She needs structure. She needs discipline. She needs rituals. And she doesn't have those when she's a free woman. Um, Even as a free companion, she still submitted, to her partner, but it was completely different. And not wanting to be free was a very easy decision for her to make, because for herself personally, she's not made to be free. She's not meant to be free. She doesn't like the way it feels. Um, so she hopes that answers your question. She knows that kind of went around in a little circle. Um, so, but yeah, she doesn't like being free. It doesn't. It's like um, okay, sweet. You asked, can free women implement those structures and rules? Uh, could that gain feelings of ownership? Mm, no, because a free woman, even in companionship, still has the option to go, I don't want to be your companion anymore, and walk. Now, disclaimer, yes, technically, this girl has the option to walk anytime she wants, technically. But for her feelings, for her own personal sense of relationship, she has given up the option to just be like, bye, she's out. She doesn't want that option. She gave it up. There is no option to walk. Let's see, Dragon Fae, you said you relate to all of this. Yeah, yeah, very good comment. Hans, you said that you're still new to the lifestyle world in general, so trying to make sense of some deeper things. You know what? That's perfectly fine. Everybody starts somewhere, and if you have questions, you are more than welcome to ask. Um, please ask questions. It's perfectly fine. This girl doesn't mind questions at all. And sweet, did this girl answer your question in a way that made sense? Was it was it answered to your satisfaction? Because this girl had 5 or 6 years of freedom, and it was pleasant, and it wasn't like this horrible, awful thing um, for her, but it wasn't. it wasn't the right fit. Dark Fae, you said, so would you call your situation a consensual, never release enslavement? Um, yes, she would. Um, for her, she has consented to always being property, whether that's to her current master or to whoever her master puts in charge of her, should master be incapacitated or pass away. Oh, well, thank you, sweet. She's very glad that she was able to answer your question. Um, so, yay. And she knows her situation is not a typical situation when it comes to MS or even Korean MS, because in general, when a person says they are a slave, they are a kajira, they they are property, they still always know in the back of their head that they could always walk if they wanted to. This girl didn't want that option. She doesn't. Um, and that's just for her personally. And it's also why she's very, very, going to emphasize this, very careful about who she begs a collar from. Now, someone did ask a question on a previous video about how she, um, what was it, how she either was left or freed or something by her former owners. Um, yes, you are right, Hans. Every relationship is unique. And she was in a relationship with someone that was about 10 years long. And it didn't start out bad, but it became bad, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And there was an extenuating circumstance that happened that was very stressful, and it just seemed to trigger behaviors that were no longer healthy. And so one day this girl went to her owner and said, I want out. She can't do this anymore, because she was working 2 jobs plus volunteering, and the person she was owned by was not working very much or very hard, and this girl was exhausted all the time. She was basically trying to hold up a household of 3 all on her own financially, and she was exhausted and she couldn't do it. And there were some other issues, but that was one of the big ones. And there was a bit of a row, and at the end of it, he threw the key to her collar at her feet and basically said GTFO. So she grabbed what she could and left. That was not a good ending. Relationships should not end that way, but sometimes they have to. So that's why this girl was free for so many years. Because she needed time to get back to herself and at least try to see how it was to be free. So she's experienced being free. She's experienced, you know, that, and she realized it just wasn't for her. Um, Doran Wind, hello. You're here from Israel. Shalom. Good to have you here. She hopes you will enjoy your time here. Um, yes, sweet. This girl is very, very happy, and she definitely has a healthy relationship with her current master and her former master, because there is a difference between an ex and a former. In fact, it was her former master that showed her what it was like to have a healthy relationship, not just as equals or companions, but also as master and slave. And that meant ultimately him giving her up for her own good, for her own health, to someone who would take beneficial ownership of her. Um, so, yeah. Really, Doran, and made this girl inquire as to why you find it um, adorable that this girl has a female owner. She's just curious, by the way. Ah, yeah, Dark Fae. Most people would probably think this girl was crazy too. Um, but again, that's why she always emphasizes you have to have um, what's the word? She hates when her brain blanks out like this. You have to have very specific expectations of people before you take their collar. That is one of the reasons why this girl always recommends a consideration period, um, because you need to get to know people. You need to figure out, you know, how are they going to treat you? What are their limits? How do you mesh, mentally, physically? Um, what, you know, what is going to happen in a financial situation? Um, that sort of thing. It's not just something the first person, that you meet, you say, "Oh, I want to be your kajira and I never ever ever want to be let go." Don't do that. If this girl had had a consideration period with her ex owner, she would not have stayed as long as she did. So she always recommends that you have some sort of consideration period of at minimum 6 months. Minimum. Yes, life is no fun without some craziness. This girl is certified crazy, so she can attest to that. And it's also very important to emphasize that this is consensual. This is not non consensual. This is not like human trafficking. Those are very bad things and need to be eradicated from the world. Um, so when she says consensual, non release enslavement, she means that she has personally agreed to this and thought about it and considered the consequences of what that means. So Hans, you said you mentioned you needed rituals. Could you explain a bit on what kind of rituals and what they do for you? Sure. Um, so for example, um, with okay, a very simple ritual for a Korean kajira is, let's say this girl is bringing master coffee in the morning. She makes master coffee. She walks to master with a cup like this. She gets on her knees and kneels in a very specific position. She kisses the side of the cup and offers it up, generally saying something along the lines of your coffee master or your girl brings you coffee master. That's a ritual. And what they do for this girl is it helps her center. It helps remind her of her place in her master's home, in her own life, in the hierarchy of the world in general. Because you have to remember, this girl views everything from an MS perspective. It doesn't matter if she is at home, it doesn't matter if she's at Walmart, it doesn't matter if she's, in the park, just playing with the dogs. She is a slave. She will always view everything from that type of filter. Sweet, you asked, do Kajira, you said Kajiras. It's actually Kajire. She's going to spell that for you. Kajirae. But you asked, do we get sub frenzy when looking or starting with a master? Yes. Yes, we do. At least this girl did. Because it's like it's new and it's bright and it's shiny and a whole new world. That's why the consideration period is also recommended. Because if it had been up to this girl, she would have taken master's collar in 3 months or less. And master was the one who actually had to pull in the reins and be like, no, we said 6 months at minimum. So yes, it is possible to have a bit of sub frenzy when starting with a master. That's why it's nice to have cool heads and not be like, everything is bright and shiny and rose colored glasses. So you need to have enough time to have mistakes, to have be able to have mistakes and oopsies and consequences okay, let's just be honest, for displeasing actions. There were times under consideration where this girl was, displeasing, or she messed up, and there were consequences. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because then you get to see, oh, this is how it's going to be handled. This is how things are going to work out, and it's not going to be this horrible, devastating. Your whole MS world is going to fall apart because there was a nuclear bomb going off. Yeah, she has heard of some people being collared with a training collar. That's not something Koreans generally do. For Koreans, once you're on a collar, that's it. You know, the collar is the collar. There is no consideration collar, training collar, ownership collar. It's just the collar. That's it. But there's nothing wrong with having, a consideration collar or a training collar. Um, it's just not something that's done in Korean circles. So, not trying to, you know, impugn what happened in your dynamic suite. Um, but, as far as Koreans go, it's just not something we do. Finn, hello. Nice to see you. Hello. Um, you missed story time, unfortunately. But if you have questions, pop them in the chat, and this girl will answer. Because she likes to have her streams go at least an hour. But because this is probably going to be about an hour stream because we seem to have hit the question and answer section a little bit early today. If y'all just heard that, that was the dog sneezing. There's 3 of them up here. And that's the Imperious Bark. Let's see. Sweet, you asked, did we have a collaring ceremony? You know what, Sweet? Don't feel bad about asking questions. Please, ask questions. Please ask questions. She loves questions. So, let's see. Did we have a collaring ceremony? We personally did not. It was just this girl knelt before Master in the living room. It was just the 2 of us. And she said, she put the collar around this girl's neck with the lock in place. And before she snapped it shut, she said, this is your last chance. Are you sure this is what you want? Because after this, there's no going back. And this girl looked Master right in the eyes and said, yes, Master, this is what this girl wants. And the lock clicked shut. And that the rest has been history for the past 2.5 years. Now, Koreans do have or can have a collaring ceremony that is a bit more public if they wish. But we personally did not do it that way. Hans, you asked, do you wear your collars out in public? Yes, these are locked on. This girl did mention in her previous video, she cannot take them off and she does not have a key. So she wears them out in public. Hi. It is for her a mark of showing, at least for people in the know, that she is property, that she is a slave. Because if you know what this is, you're going to know. Very good question, Finn. Yes, this girl does use third-person speech when she's out in public. Master does have the caveat that it is not to be used around minors. But that's really it. She also doesn't use third-person speech with well, she was going to say her parents, but her father has passed away. Um, so for everybody else, she uses third person speech. It's not just something that she does in dedicated spaces or just in the relationship. No, Han, she hasn't actually gotten any questions about them because it's not a very obvious collar. Um, she'll see how close she can get. Because if you see, it's just a rounded band. That's all it really is. So it's not super obvious. It doesn't scream collar like her original one did. Um, and that one she did get questions about. Oh, hello, Guinevere. Everyone say hello to Guinevere. You gonna say hi? You gonna say hi to everybody? Yeah? Apparently Guinevere has decided to join our stream today. Yes. We booped the snoot. Guinevere, you're being very rude. You're being very rude. I need to talk to the nice people. Oh yeah, she doesn't use third person speech with animals. Thank you, sweet. Thank you very much. No, there are not very many Korean groups where she lives, and she doesn't know any other Koreans in her area, unfortunately. It makes her very sad. So she wishes there was. There is a local BDSM group that holds munches in her hometown, but it's BDSM. It's not a Korean group, and as far as she is aware, it's been a little bit. But as far as she is aware, she's the only Korean in the community. Finn, you asked, do you ever struggle with switching from third to first person? Not anymore. It used to be a struggle, but it's not a struggle anymore. She's used third person speech for 4 years, maybe 4 years. She's going to say it's been about 4 years because she's been with her master for 2.5 years. And it was actually her former master that started the third person speech as a way to help calm her thoughts, because this girl suffers from anxiety, like with a capital A. And one of the side effects of having anxiety and bipolar is your thoughts race and race and race and race and race and race and race. And to use third person speech, you have to stop and slow down your thoughts and construct the sentence in a grammatically proper way. So that makes your thoughts slow down. Let's see, Doran, you asked, what are your everyday duties for master? Well, to be perfectly honest, right now, they're not much. This girl is in mourning for her father. The past year has really sucked. So things have kind of fallen by the wayside. But before things had monkey wrenches thrown into them, one of her daily duties was to make breakfast. And that consisted of this girl waking up at 8 o'clock. She made master breakfast and served breakfast and coffee to master at 8:30 in bed. She presented it the same way every day. Then she would wait. Master would give her permission to go get herself something to eat and some coffee, and we would sit and talk about, this is what you're going to do today, or this is what we have planned for the day. Um, and she would be given her duties for the day. And then um, the day would just go about like that. And there's not really a set, you will do this on these days, unfortunately. This girl would love a routine like that. That would be amazing. Um, but until life decides to settle down a little bit more, we're probably not going to have that kind of routine. Um, but it is in the works. So, so Finn, you said that you liked using third person. What is it about third person for you that you enjoy that you personally enjoy? Oh, blessed, blessed bean juice. She loves coffee. Coffee is life. That definitely makes sense, Finn. That definitely makes sense. This girl can relate to that very much. Very, very much. Um, so, yes. Blessed, blessed bean juice. You asked, are there different types of kajire sweet? In the books, yes, there were. Um, but in general, from the kajire she has met online, um, and she means like actual honest people kajire, not like people who role play on Second Life or whatever. She means like actual people who are owned by other Koreans. Um, we're generally all-purpose general slaves. Um, some of us just have more. More talents than others. She knew one Kajire who was a professional belly dancer. That's what type of Kajire she was. She was a pleasure slave for her owner. She danced and she knew several different types of, um, different types of arts. Um, this girl really looked up to her, and unfortunately, she dropped off the face of the earth. Um, but it was really interesting to know her for the time that she did. Finn, you said, yeah, figuring out third person speech is interesting. Um, this girl often uses this girl or this slave, your girl, your Kajira. Uh, she hardly ever actually uses her name in third person speech. She does know some Kajire who use third person speech would be like, for example, if this girl were to do it, she would say, and Thea would beg for, a bite of master's bacon or something along those lines. She has done it, but it's very, very, very rare. um, that her third person speech incorporates her name. Females are different kinds of owners, Doran. She hopes she's saying your name right. She's been owned by men. She's currently owned by a woman, and it's just different. It's just different. It's not bad different. It's just different. Um, so yeah, but it's been about an hour. This girl is going to call the stream. She's very glad you all were able to join her. And next week, we are going to be discussing being a slave who has issues with mental health. That was a request by a free woman. And so this girl will be discussing that next week. So please feel free to join her. As usual, it's going to be on Sundays at 12 p.m. Central Time. Sweet, thank you very much for joining. And she will talk to everyone later. Bye.